Hello, hello, good morning. It's Monica from Life is Art, and this is the Thursday 10 a.m. technique at the Cruise the Nile online crop. I'm just waiting for my video to pop up on the side so I can make sure we're all in the frame. But today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. This is a little more elaborate technique, and it is going to involve a few steps. So today is part one. I am just going to bring my camera down a little bit and see if we can get ourselves a little closer to the action. There we go. Not too bad. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. And if you're watching later on replay, you can say replay. I see Deborah is here. Good morning, good morning. How are you this morning? It's a Thursday, and I have drank a lot of water, and I have taken some cough syrup, and I am hoping that we make it through today without too much coughing on this video. So we are going to be looking at some things from the March-April catalog. This is the final catalog from Close to My Heart. And the featured collection for the month is this one that you see featured on the front cover. And that is Let's Go Anywhere. And so today we're going to be creating something a little different. And we're going to be using Let's Go Anywhere to do that. And so there are paper and stickers, coordinating cardstock, there are SVG files, there are embellishments, and then of course there are some stamp sets that go along with this as well. But for today, we're only going to be looking at some of the pattern paper because we are going to be doing a travel mini album. So this is a mini album that you can use to document a trip or a vacation or an event or, just about anything, first year at college, that kind of thing. But it's small enough that you can take it with you while you are traveling. And so you can tuck things in it, write things down. If you have access to printing off photos while you're at it, pardon me, you can add those in there as well. But I like that this is a small enough size. It's the same size as maybe a notebook. You could tuck in your bag and carry along with you and keep track of what you've been doing on your trip. So this was a request from Michelle. She wanted me to show something like this. I don't know if this is exactly what she had in mind, but we'll see. But it's a fun project. Now I have done a sample here using a retired collection that was called Cape Cod. And so I just pulled out my little bits and bobs that I had left. This is not a completely decorated album. This is just to give you an idea of what the album will look like that we're going to work on during the crop, okay? So for our 10 a.m. techniques over the next 4 days, we are going to be building this album, okay? But using the Let's Go Anywhere collection. All right, so let's take a look first. This is about a 6x8. The finished size is 6.5 by 8.5, but the pages are 6x8. It's about 3/4 or 7/8 of an inch deep, and there are 2 pages, only 2 pages. Let me see if I can get the divider here. There are 2 pages in this, but you are going to see how we expand those 2 pages to give you lots of space for things in there. So we've got 2 pages plus the front and back cover. So let's take a look at the start here. On the inside of the cover, I made a couple pockets. These are great for keeping track of tickets, itineraries, receipts, postcards, maps, any kind of ephemera. You know how we talk about ephemera and people buy ephemera packs? Well, ephemera is just the stuff you gather up on your journey. And so those are nice couple pockets there where you can tuck things in. Then here on the front of our first page, we have some pages that go out and out. So we end up with 5 6x8 pages approximately going across. So you can make a huge long layout with lots of photos and things. Plus we've got the back sides of both of these, which are another 4 6x8. Okay, so just in the front of this first page alone, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 6x8 pages on the front of this. So I think that's super cool. And then as we turn the page, this next one, this is the centerfold. And so for the centerfold, I've got some accordions that are coming out. These are not full size. These are about 3 3/4 of an inch by 8 inches tall. And so we've got lots of space front and back for adding in smaller photos, little things that you pick up. Some people even collect stickers in places that they go, you know, almost like the bumper stickers. But you can get smaller ones. You could attach those in there. And then, of course, we have these 2 6x8 pages here as well to decorate and add things to. I'm going to just take a drink. Woo, woo. Whew, all the paper. It's getting me all excited. And then when we turn to the back half of the last page, we've got this nice vertical pocket, which is good for tucking in larger things that you want to keep track of, maps, brochures from places you visited, all those kinds of things. And then here on the back cover, I've actually got a belly band that wraps right around the cover. Now you could have different ways of closing up what's underneath here, and probably all of you can tell that this is a waterfall underneath here. You could put a grommet and put an elastic around. You could put flaps that have Velcro, magnets, you name it. I kept it simple and just did a belly band, so we can just slide this off. And then we have 4x6 flaps going all the way down this waterfall. And let me see, I don't even know if I've counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pardon me. Oh, goodness. So 8 double-sided 4x6 flaps plus the one here at the back. So these are great spots. You could add journaling. You could do all sorts of things in there. You could add lots of photos. And let's just stick that belly band back on. So if you wanted to have a belly band that was Velcroed, you could totally do that. I had thought about that, but I just made a belly band. The other thing is you can tuck things under your belly band on the front and back. You could even tuck a little tiny notebook under there so that you could keep track of little things and tuck them in there. Now, something I didn't point out as we were looking at these 2 pages here, these 2 pages actually open from the outside, and they have a nice little pocket in them, and so you can add all sorts of things in there as well. And so it's really, considering that there's 2 pages in this little travel album, there is a lot of space to get a lot of stuff in there. So we are going to start out today creating the cover and the hinge for this album, and then tomorrow we'll add a little more. So for our cover, we need to start out with some pattern paper. And you could use lots of things. I know my mom makes oodles of mini albums and journals and things like that. And she uses wallpaper. She gets the sample books from the local paint and wallpaper store when they're finished with the season. They just give them to her. Sometimes they even deliver them to her house. Now, she lives in a small town, so that's a little bit different maybe from where you live, but I know other people have asked their local paint and wallpaper places, and they're more than happy to give you the wallpaper books, and those are nice and sturdy papers too. All right, so for our cover, we're going to need 2 pieces of pattern paper, and this one is 8.5 by 9.25. And I will be writing down all the dimensions after the video. So this is 8.5 by 9.25. And then this second piece is a little bit smaller. It's 6.5 by 9.25. I just want to double check. Yes, 6.5 by 9.25. Okay, and this is the pattern that I want to use on the outside of this little album. I think it looks so cool. It's kind of masculine. It's the pattern that looks like a road map from way up high in space. And it almost has a leather look to it, which I think would be really cool on the outside of a travel album. So this is the pattern I'm going to use. On the back side, we have the passport paper. This is the bulk pattern paper from this collection. And so it's got different things back to back than what comes in the regular pack of paper. So just excuse that. So what we're going to do is we need to actually stick these two pieces together so that we have a larger piece of paper in order to cover the entire cover. That's why we have two pieces. And we're going to make a 1/2 inch overlap to stick them together. So the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to line, actually I'll go this, yeah, no, I'll stay this way. I'm going to line my piece of paper up on the Versamat here because I need to apply some adhesive, and I want the adhesive to be in that 1/2 inch gap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a run of adhesive right at the end of this piece, just like that. Make sure that's stuck down. And then on the back side of this one, I'm going to stick a strip of adhesive along here. Now you could use red tape for this. You could use, a lot of people, I think, Suk Wang tape. You could use liquid glue. All those things will work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the adhesive backing off, and I am coming in with some liquid glue, just FYI. And we're going to use our lines on our Versamat to make sure that we don't get liquid glue in places we don't want. And we're just going to apply a little bit of liquid glue within that 1/2 inch border, just on that one. And then we're going to remove the backing on this one and then flip it over, and we're going to stick it down a 1/2 inch in from the edge. This is why the Versamat comes in so handy for this. And unfortunately, the Versamat has retired. So we're going right along this 8-inch line, lining it up. We can also check and make sure that it stays level all the way across from one side to the other, and then we can push it down. I always like to wait 1/2 second before pushing it down, just to make sure that I've checked that everything is nice and straight and level, because that will just end up looking nicer on our finished project. Okay, so we have now got the piece of paper that we need for the cover, and we are going to now bring in some pieces of chipboard, I guess, weight things. These were the back off of, a pack of paper, or, inserts. Sometimes when you get a binder or something, you get like a protective insert. You can use cereal boxes. They're nice and sturdy. Anything that you can cut a piece out of, we're going to cover it, so it doesn't matter if it's got patterns on it or anything. But you want something that's nice and sturdy, because this is going to be your cover. So it needs to be a little bit sturdier than cardstock. Okay? So for this, we need two pieces that are 6.25 by 8.25. So two pieces that are 6.25 by 8.25. And then we also need a bit for the spine. And so this one is 3/4 of an inch by 8.25. Okay? 3/4 of an inch by 8.25. And what we're going to do is we are going to attach these to our cover paper. I'm just going to get them lined up here. And what I want to make sure, let me see if I can find the join. There's the join. And it's going to look odd because I'm going to flip it. And all my passports now are upside down, but it does not matter because we're not using the passport side of the paper. So what I want to do is I want the join to actually be on the back of my mini album. So I'm going to kind of get myself in that situation already. This will be our front, this will be our back, and the join will be here. Just because you don't necessarily want that join on your front cover, right? That's where you're going to decorate it, make it look nice and pretty, right? Good morning, Diane. Nice to see you're watching. Oh, Deborah's saying this would be a good project for retreats. You could work over the days. Yes, yes. All right, now our size here. Let me grab my ruler because I do kind of want to center everything. So our completed size when we've got our 1/2 inch overlap is 14.5. So 7.25 is the center of our project. So 7.25. I'm going to just mark that with a pencil. 7.25 right there. In fact, I'm going to bring in my ruler, and this is 3/4 of an inch wide. I want to get this right in the center because then you're not going to be all wonky. The most important one is to get the spine in the center. So our spine is 3/4 of an inch. So that means that 3/8 of an inch are going to be overhanging. So I'm going to draw a line at 6 7/8. I know we don't like 7/8, but it'll be okay. So we're going to come here at 6 7/8, which is halfway between 6 3/4 and 7. So 6 7/8, and then we're going to go to 7 5/8, which is between 7.5 and 7 3/4. And these are just lines to make sure we get our spine on straight. Some people have to have surgery to make sure their spine stays straight. Well, we're going to try and do it ahead of time so we don't have to have surgery later. We're going to add some adhesive to this. Now, liquid glue is really good for attaching this kind of stuff, but the liquid glue sometimes takes a minute. And so if you're like me and you're impatient, by adding on some other adhesive before we start means that it will hold it in place while the liquid glue does its thing, right? Good morning, Mom. Nice to see you're watching. And Lisa's here. Hi, Lisa. So we're going to add some liquid glue all over this. So again, like I said, that adhesive tape will hold it in place until the liquid glue dries. Now, we also have 8.25, and this is 9.25. I should have known that, but 9.25. So we need to come, let me see, 8.25, 9.25. So we want to be 1/2 inch from the bottom and the top. So I'm going to line it up along my left hand mark there. And I suppose I could use my ruler for this to make sure I was 1/2 inch. But I'm going to say I'm close enough. And we're going to lay our spine down there right between those two lines. Adjust it if you need to, and then stick it down. Give it a good stick. You can even turn it over and just make sure there's no bubbly bits happening. If you put too much liquid glue, you will end up with little puckery bubbles. But if you just put just enough, then it works. It works pretty good. Okay, now that we've done that, everything else can just be stuck on. So we've got our front cover piece here. We're going to add some of this adhesive, like so. We're going to put a decent amount of this on. We want our cover to stay put. Pardon me. Oh, this cough. I hope it goes away soon. All right, and then we can add our liquid glue as well. So this is going to become the process. Sticky tape, then liquid glue. And the liquid glue helps to make sure that everything sticks down just the way you want it. My thumb in the way. And then you kind of do this. You just kind of scribble, scribble, scribble with the liquid glue. Now this liquid glue actually has an end on it that puts out a wider bit of glue. But mine doesn't work. I guess I've never used it, so it's just kind of seized up. Now, when I attach this piece, I want to leave a little gap in between the spine and the cover, and that will give us the bend that we need. If we put them right close together, it doesn't bend as well. Think about wearing a tight pair of jeans. If you wear a tight pair of jeans, you don't bend so well. And we want our cover and back to be able to bend. So we're not going to make it too close. We're going to leave a little bit of a space, probably about 1/8 of an inch of space all the way down, and then lay this down just like that. And we can even do the same thing. We can flip it over and just give a nice bit of pressure on the pattern paper side. It's always good to take your time when you're doing something like this, because this is, this is how it's going to look. This is what it's going to be forever and ever. So there's no need to rush it. And then we're going to add the adhesive to our second cover. And we're going to repeat the process. So we're going to add the adhesive, we're going to add the glue, then we're going to leave our gap. Once you get used to the process of creating a cover and a hinge, then you can kind of adjust covers and hinges to make any size sort of album or journal that you want. My mom makes oodles of these and all different configurations and sizes, and I have a bunch of them on my shelf in here that she's made. She's the expert. I should have had her teach this. All right, we're going to go across, add lots of glue. Like that. And then again, we're going to leave that gap. So what I do when I'm trying to line it up, I'm not laying this down flat. I'm coming in at like a 45-degree angle so that only the edge of my paper or the card is touching the pattern paper. And we want to try and make an even gap all the way down and then stick it before the glue dries. So get it down. So let me know in the comments, have you made a mini album from scratch like this before? Or have you perhaps done a mini album in an already pre-made cover? I always like to hear what you guys have been up to. So there we go. We've stuck that all down. Now we need to do some work on our paper here to make sure that our cover folds very nice and looks very nice when we're done. So the first thing we want to do is miter our corners. I know that's a fancy term. It's a woodworking term. But what it means is that we're going to line ourselves up here on the Versamat. And we've got 1/2 inch. Oops, it would be helpful if I was straight on the Versamat. We've got 1/2 inch here from the edge. So what I want to do is I want to take my pencil and I'm going to measure up a whole inch from the bottom right corner. And then I'm going to measure in a whole inch from the corner going across the bottom. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to, I could take my ruler and draw a line. I suppose I could do that. I'll do that. I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to draw a line from those 2 marks that I just made, and it should just hit the corner of that card, chipboard. That's the word I'm looking for. Can you see what I've done there? So I measured up 1 inch, measured over 1 inch. That's because we have half of an inch gap here, so you double it. So up an inch, over an inch, and then made an angle, so that's a nice 45-degree angle. And it just touches that little corner right there. Okay? And then we're going to do the same thing on all the sides. I don't need to draw the line. I kind of need to score the line, but we're gonna leave it like that. And I'm trying to remember whether I scored or whether I cut. I think I actually cut on mine just to reduce volume. So let's do this for all of our corners. Let's line it back up. We're going to measure 1 inch down from this one and 1 inch over across the top. And we're going to draw a line. If you're good at trimming with your scissors, you don't even really need to draw the line. You could just snip from corner to corner. But for today, we're going to draw the line. We're going to come 1 inch up, 1 inch over. Let's mark everything. 1 inch over, 1 inch down, right there. And then we can come in with the ruler. I have a huge ruler. And, whoops, draw across. And then up here, we'll draw across too. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to take my scissors. You can do it two ways. You can either fold on that line that you just made, or you can cut. And I'm going to cut, just to reduce bulk in the corners. So we're just going to cut along that line from mark to mark on all 4 corners. Just like that. Okay. And then we need to start folding over our cover and sticking it to the chipboard on the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way around, adding adhesive right on the edge, like that. And that. I'm just doing 1 strip. I could do 2, or you could use a 1/2 inch wide adhesive. Mine's a 1/4 of an inch. But we're also going to use the liquid glue, so it'll get adhesive on it. And then the last side. We're getting there, folks. Getting there. Okay. Now, I like to do this 1 step at a time. And so I'm going to start with this end one here first. I'm going to just peel up my adhesive backing, like so. I'm going to add liquid glue all the way down, because remember we only put adhesive on the edge. So we need to get into this little triangle-y bit down here at the bottom. We're going to add our glue. Okay. Then I want to come in with my bone folder. Now this is going to seem weird, but this will help. What we're going to do is we're going to slide our bone folder under, and then ever so gently, I'm just going to run my bone folder back and forth along the edge of that chipboard. And you have to kind of put your hand on and make sure you're holding the chipboard down. And you're just going to create a bend on that pattern paper. And you see how it's now folding over on itself? But this is ensuring that we're not going to have any weird gaps. Okay? And then once we've got it so that it's pretty much 90 degrees, start in the center, push right nice and tight, and then you kind of want to push in from the edge. Okay? I'm giving you lots of tips here to help make this go as smoothly as possible. And then you can take your bone folder and just make sure everything's stuck down good. And you might even get glue that smushes out, and that's okay too. Just it'll get covered up by the next piece of paper. Now we're going to come around and do the other end. I'm just swiveling this around like crazy. I'm going to take off the adhesive. So all 4 sides are going to be about the same process. But I like to do the 2 ends first, and then we'll do the 2 long ones. And so let's add our glue. like that. And again, coming in, slide the bone folder under and slowly work your way along. Like that. If you don't have a bone folder, you could use a ruler for this. The bone folder is nice though because it's meant to glide, so it glides nicely. All right, so we've got it so that it's going to stay at a 90 degree. We're going to come right in at the center and we're going to slide our finger in like that so it makes it nice and tight. And then again, we're going from the outside edge in towards the center. All the way down. Give it a good smoosh. Make sure everything's stuck down good. Now we can go to the sides. So this is gonna be tall. You might not see the ends of this, but that's okay. It's the same process. Let's add some glue all the way down. Now there's a little bit something different here when you're doing this part. Right here, just put a little bit of glue in those two little gaps, just for fun. Just put a little, and only 1/2 inch up or less, because that's the width of this piece of paper. And then again, just take your bone folder. It's all the same process again. Go all the way down. And if you've made sure that all those pieces lined up, this will be a lot easier. And we're just going to work our way back and forth. Slow and steady. Slow and steady. Alrighty. Now, we're going to start in the center here. We're going to start with this spine. And again, we're going to do the same thing where we're pushing in from the edge, like so. I cut off a little too much right there, but that's okay. We'll survive. And then, before we go too much farther, right here where those joins are, I'm going to take my bone folder and just shove that right down in that dip and make like a little indent with the paper. And then you can go along and smoosh that down all the way. Okay. And then we come around to the other side. There we go. Remove the backing. Add the glue. I bought some more glue the other day. It's a good thing. We might need it for this project. My glue was getting low. We're going to go all the way along the edge. A little bit in the middle. And then these two little indents. Add a little bit of glue there too. Bring in the bone folder. This is one of those projects where it's sort of wash, rinse, and repeat. You just do the steps over and over. Take your time. And let's get that. It's always very satisfying to see these kinds of projects coming together. All right, now we're going to fold it in the center at that spine. Work our way all the way along. It's good to remember when creasing anything, you should always start from the center, move out from the center. It'll just go better. And then we're going to mark those indents. That will help everything fold nicely later on. You won't have as much buckling. And stick that all down. Looking good. Alrighty. Now, we still have lots of the chipboard showing. So I've got 2 more pieces of this pattern paper. These have been cut to 6 by 8. I should have remembered that. And so we're going to go ahead and add some adhesive on the backs of these. 6 by 8. Now I could use the contrasting pattern for this, but I kind of want to have this leathery look all the way around just because I think it looks cool. So I'm going to take the adhesive off of these, and then I'm going to add some liquid glue as well. Just like that. Do. As much or as little as you want. And then we're going to come in and apply this right up at the back end of this chipboard. So we're going to follow along this edge here. I didn't quite get it, but close enough. And then stick it down. So we're kind of joining where the gap is. But I'm a little off. That's okay. It's okay. It'll be all right. Now you can get all sorts of things to jazz up an album. If you were going to take this on your travels, I wouldn't suggest getting any of those metal corner protectors, because that's going to set off the alarms at like the airport and stuff. But when you get home, you could put those metal corner bits on. I'm sure you have an idea of what I'm talking about. You've seen books and things that have like a little metal triangle on the corners. You can get those online and put those on if you feel so inclined. You can do the same effect with paper too. But if you're going to take this on your travels, the least amount of things to, have to wrangle is the best. All right, so let's line this one up. See if we can get it a little better. That looks better. Right to the edge. And stick that down. Press it all down nice and smooth. There we go. And our last step for today is to add the hinge, the thing that's going to hold the pages on. Just going to give these another little oomph. And because we have done that little oomping thing, when we pick this up and fold it, you'll notice that these fold nice and crisply. They don't buckle. You're not getting any puckering with the paper. And so see what I'm doing with my hand, where I'm just kind of massaging the corner? That's going to help the paper fold nicely. Now, if you were going to make a large album that's going to have a lot of stuff in it, you may even want to have something that goes across here underneath the cover, a little something extra, piece of fabric or a piece of Tyvek, the weather sealing stuff that they put on a house. Even some people use duct tape, that kind of thing. Put a strip of it just to bolster up that pattern paper that's holding the spine pieces, to the spine to the covers. But you can also add something after the fact too. If you notice that it's getting a little worse for wear over time, you can always add a nice little extra contrasting strip around the back as well. But we've got those nice 2 layers glued tightly together there, and I think that helps. Now, for the hinge, we have a piece of pine cardstock that I'm using. It's one of the coordinating colors for this collection. And this hinge is 2 3/4 by 8 inches. Let me just confirm. 2 3/4 by 8. And we're going to do some scoring on here. So let me just line it up. I guess I'll line it up on the side. That just makes more sense. We're going to line it up on the side. Grab our ruler, or you can use your scoreboard. And we are going to score at 1/4 of an inch. So just line yourself up, score at 1/4 of an inch, all the way down, going the whole length. And then we're going to score it at 3/4 of an inch. So jumping over to 3/4 of an inch. And again, I will write these measurements down in the description afterwards. And then 1 1/4. 1 1/4. Just line it up there. Next is 1 1/2. lining it up. Then 2 inches. There's a lot of scoring on a small little strip, eh? So that's 2 inches and then 2.5. And once you kind of get the concept of how to, I'm going to put my lid on here. Once you get the concept of how to build one of these hinges, then you can expand it for any number of pages that you want. So you can make a book that has 4 pages, 6 pages, 8 pages, but just know that when you get albums that many pages, your spine is going to be, 3-4 inches deep. So what we're going to do is a series of folds. This first 1/4 of an inch, we're going to create a valley fold, which means we push the score line down into the valley, which brings the paper up. So we've got a 1/4 of an inch that has been valley folded, creates a little V. The next one here, the 3/4 of an inch score line, we're going to create a mountain fold, which means we push the score line up the mountain from behind, because we're creating a mountain. Okay, so if I hold it there, we've got our valley, then our mountain. I'm going to just lay that down and crease it. Okay. And now this next one, we're going to create a valley. So we're going to push the score line down into the valley, which lifts the outside papers up. Let's make sure we're going nice and straight. So we've got valley, mountain, valley. Now you would think we would go back to mountain, but we're not. We're going to be doing a second valley fold. So this little 1/4 inch gap here is going to have a valley fold on each side. I'm going to just straighten those out. So we're going to push this score line down into the valley, which lifts the papers up. There we go. Good morning, Laura. All right, so now we've got our 1/4 inch valley, mountain, valley, valley. Now we're going to do a mountain. So in between these 2 1/2 inch gaps, we're going to create a mountain. So we're going to push the score line up, the mountain from behind, which folds the paper back on itself. And crease that down. And then the last 1/4 inch one is going to be a valley fold. So we're going to push that score line down into the valley, which lifts up the paper. Pardon me. And crease that down. So when I lift this up here, if you take a look at this, we've now got valley, mountain, valley, valley, mountain, valley. And if I squeeze these edges together like that, you will see that our 3/4 inch strips, I'm going to put my hand there, these 3/4 inch strips now all butt up against each other, creating a 3/4 of an inch piece. And our 2 1/2 inch little flappies stick up. Those are going to form the thing that we're sticking the pages to. Gonna take a drink. Woo, losing my voice. You ever have it when you're trying not to cough and it's just making you sound like That's what's happening. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that those 1/2 inch tabs that are going to stick up are going to stick up nice and tight together. So we're going to put some adhesive on here. We're going to put a strip of adhesive right on the edge of that first 1/2 inch panel there. And then we're going to put a strip of adhesive on the outside edge of this last 1/2 inch panel. It doesn't really matter which of the 1/2 inches you do it on, but just to make it, look normal to you all. I'm going to do it on the left side of the first half-inch panel and the right side of the last half-inch panel. And then we can take the backing off. We'll do those one at a time. There goes my voice again. So we've got our adhesive on the left side of this first half-inch panel, and then we're going to add some liquid glue. I got a goober. My glue has goobers, just like me. We're going to just add a little bit of liquid glue on here too. There we go. We're stuck. Wasn't coming out. There we go. And then we can take those two half-inch panels and squish them together. Just like that. Squish. You can even lay it down flat. Give it a really good squish. So now we have 2 1/4-inch pieces butted up against each other with one little half-inch tab sticking up. So now we need to get this other half-inch tab to do the same thing. Remove the backing of this last half-inch panel. We're going to add some liquid glue on there as well, just to make sure everything stays where we put it. And then we're going to squeeze those 2 half-inch panels together like that. And we can even lay it down, give it a good squish. And now we have all 3 of our 1/4-inch pieces lined up, butted right tight up against each other. And on this other side, we have these 2 half-inch tabbies that are sticking up. Okay, let's bring in our cover. And on the side with the 3 1/4-inch pieces, we're going to add some adhesive to the back of those 1/4-inch pieces. There we go. Left side, right side. We want to make sure we get a lot of adhesive on here. We don't want our hinge coming off. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on in this album, and this is what's holding everything together. So we're going to put a lot of adhesive on those 3 little 1/4-inch pieces. This probably would be a good time to use red tape, but I didn't. But I didn't. If you don't know what red tape is, it's this super sticky tape. Red tape. It's very good for things that need to have a little bit of structural integrity. All right, just going to make sure nothing's hanging over the edge. And then we're going to add the liquid glue as well, because insurance. The liquid glue is the insurance. And nothing's coming off. And I might have just gobbed on way too much liquid glue because it ran right around the edge. There we go. Now, this is only 8 inches, and this is a little bit longer than 8 inches. This is 8 1/4. So we're going to have 1/8 of an inch at either end, and we want to make sure that this ends up where we want it on the spine. So that chipboard is our guide. It should line up with where we put the pattern paper on across here. That's about 1/8 of an inch gap. And then if you push those tabs over to the side and then just squish it down, that will help get everything stuck. And you can move all those little tabs back and forth. Those are our hinges, so they need to be able to move like hinges. But we want to make sure that everything is stuck down as good as it can be stuck. So there we go. We have our cover created. We've got our spine, our front and our back made out of our chipboard, and then covered in the beautiful pattern paper from the Let's Go Anywhere collection. Then we added extra paper to the inside. We mitered our edges. And finally, using some pine cardstock to create the spine. And we are going to now, this is a good spot to stop, because we're going to let that spine dry before we carry on with anything else. So tomorrow at 10 a.m., we will continue on with part 2 of this mini travel album that we're creating. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that part come together. We'll see you again soon, and don't forget there is Chat and Craft starting at 11:30. See you then. Toodaloo. Bye.